Hello, this is Dr. Wells with Wells Medicine, and I wanted to talk today about mourning and grief. Right now in America today, there is an idea of sort of chin up and carry on and, go deal with your mother's funeral, your dog's funeral, and then I want you back at work in 2 days and doing exactly 100% the job you were doing before this loss. And, definitely you don't need any help, and you don't need any support, and you don't need any time to recover, and you should be just fine. And there's something wrong with you if you're not fine. And I think that we can learn a lot from other cultures who have very different views of what grief looks like, what recovery from grief looks like, what the mourning process looks like. And there really isn't, a chin up and carry on attitude in a lot of other cultures. And I think they process through grief and get to the other side of it more easily than we do right now. We avoid all of the feelings and the emotions so much with the idea that it's bad to feel these things, and with the idea that we should get over it really quickly. And so we just don't go through it and get to the other side. In older, more traditional cultures, they had extensive mourning practices where people would, sit in a circle for a week, tearing at their clothes and wailing, where people would literally keep the body in their house and wash it and, pray over it and live with the dead for, a week or so. And these extensive funerary rites, they would wear black armbands or black for a year or more to honor their deceased and to announce to people around them that they were going through this process. And in America, we just move on. And I don't really think that honors our connections to relationships, and I don't think it honors the love that is the other side of grief, and allows people to heal, and allows people to heal in a way that doesn't make their grief a disease or an illness or something bad, or something broken. The other part of that is I don't think we ever really recover from those losses. I think those can be wounds that we carry with us forever. And there's two ways to look at that. One is that it is a giant loss and a hole and, an open seeping wound. But the other way is to look at it as we're carrying that remembrance and we're carrying that memory and we're carrying the way that person touched us and changed us, throughout our lives with us as a piece of us. And that's their memory and their legacy. And so I think other cultures do a better job of that as well. So in Judaism, they'll have candles that you can plug in to the wall and have them forever or for years, called a yahrzeit candle. In other cultures, they'll set up altars to the person where they'll have a picture and they'll have little candles you can light. And you keep the altars up as long as you need that altar and that remembrance. I think part of what is so wounding about the way that we treat death is that what scares us is not being remembered or not remembering that person or not bringing them with us. And when we try to move on without these altars or candles or black clothing, or talking about the person freely with everyone that we can and everyone that we want to, we're not remembering. And so we're in effect living that forgetting of that person in everyday life. And so the more that we can bring in these ancient cultures, remembrances, I mean, they've spent centuries perfecting how to do death. And I think they do it better than we do. But I think that, honoring grief and honoring the process, there's a really great book by Russ Harris that's called When Life Hits Hard. And I think that's a great book and a great process to go through about really recentering and just really taking it back to, can I get through 10 minutes? Can I get through the next step? Can I get through what's right in front of me? Instead of having a longer view or living, past the next moment. There's also the 7 stages of grief, which a lot of people are saying, well, maybe it's not really 7 stages and they're not distinct and they blend together. And, we don't think it's all 7 at once. But I think the concept of the 7 stages of grief is really powerful to allow people to know that all of those emotions, the anger, the denial, the regret, all of those emotions are normalized within the context of this one event, and that they're all okay, and that we should welcome them and observe them and, be able to process through them, as opposed to rejecting them as broken or bad or dangerous or not expected during this grieving process. I think also allowing the grieving process helps to keep death closer with us. And by that, I mean, in America today, even a 70 or 80-year-old, we're like, oh my gosh, that's so surprising they died. Oh, what did they die from? That's shocking. That's so surprising. But people die all the time. And none of us ever really know how much longer we're going to get. And in some other cultures, they keep death mementos or memento mori with them as a reminder that life is very brief, life is very fleeting, and not to scare themselves and not to be, dark or depressing about it, but to remind ourselves that this is not a life that is to be taken for granted, because we only get a very short amount of time. And there's a really great book called 40,000 Weeks, which is the kind of, if you get 80 years, you get 40,000 weeks. And the idea is, if you look at it in weeks, that's not that many. And when we keep the idea with us of life is brief, it's short, we don't take the ones that we love for granted. We don't take this moment for granted. We don't let the little things bother us. There's a really interesting Buddhist meditation, and it's not a novice meditation. It's a much more advanced meditation where you're literally picturing yourself, your loved ones, and you're picturing them not with the loving kindness meditation where you're picturing them and giving them loving kindness, but you're picturing them and ourselves as literally corpses with things rotting away and bugs eating us and worms crawling out of us and, the blood draining out of us and, disintegrating into the earth. It's a powerful meditation because it reminds us that death is ever present with us and with our loved ones, and to not take them for granted, to not hold small petty grudges, to not let a little word create a big problem, to not let a little thing blow up into a big thing. And it allows us to ride the waves a little bit more evenly of life, because it is so brief. And these things really are so small in comparison to, the bigger meanings and the bigger questions of life. And so I really invite you to, if you are in a period of mourning for the loss of a perceived future self, or the loss of a pet or a loved one, or the idea of something, take the time to mourn and take the time to build that altar of remembrance and keeping that relationship alive, and discuss your feelings, and don't put a time limit on it. Do it as long as you need to. Wear the black, wear the ribbon, keep it with you, and keep that idea with you to not take present time for granted, and not take your current relationships for granted, because I think that is a really powerful reminder of the bittersweetness and the sweetness of life right now.